Hello and welcome to another segment of Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Jamie Johnson, the political and government correspondent, and we are interviewing candidates. We're going to be on the spring ballot for April 2nd. Our candidate today is Robert Cizek, who's running for county board, and this would be the district that involves basically North Hudson, a little bit of the township, right?
Yes, maybe the eastern border is in the town of Hudson a little bit, Trout Brook Road.
Okay.
And then the northern boundary would be maybe about a half a mile into the town of St. Joe.
Okay.
But other than that, no, it's Lake Malieu on the south and the river on the west.
All right. So I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, your qualifications, your background, and then we'll get into why you're running and your issues. But
All
just
right.
what's your background, your qualifications? We talked a little bit off camera, but now we got the folks on camera here. So.
Well, you know, I was raised on a dairy farm north of Rice Lake, Wisconsin. And leaving the dairy farm, I spent a year at UW, University of Wisconsin. Then got called by Uncle Sam. So I spent 4 years in the Navy, 18 months in Vietnam. After that, I went back to school, got my engineering certification, and so I worked in communication systems for the next 42 years.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for your service. And so what years were you in Vietnam?
It would have been, I'm thinking, probably late 1968 to early 1971, I suppose.
Okay. Kind of overlapped with the time my uncle was.
I spent 2 9-month tours. So 9 months there, then off for a month or so, and then back to Vietnam for 9 months. Da Nang.
Okay. Da Nang, all right.
Yep.
That was the area. Well, now, you said you spent 40 plus years in communication systems, and I take it you're retired now?
I am, yeah. I retired in 2014 from the Cameron School District and decided to go back to a Bible college. So I went to that Bible college, Charis Bible College in Plymouth, Minnesota.
Okay.
2 years, graduated in May of 2016. And from then, I just retired, but I spend a lot of time teaching. I teach the Constitution. I teach all about the Declaration of Independence,
Okay.
amendments, American history, and I also teach Bible study.
Okay. And where do you do this teaching?
Right now, I got a class going at Fort Snelling Chapel, where I teach there on Sunday mornings, history, American history. And we're doing a series on the U.S. presidents. So we started that 2 years ago, and we're working through our presidents.
Okay.
We just finished up with Lincoln and Johnson, and now we're on President Grant.
All right. So you are a resident of Village of North Hudson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I live in North Hudson.
And how long have you been there?
Moved there in 2016.
Okay.
I left Plymouth, and rather than moving back to the Rice Lake area, I thought, well, I'm going to check out Hudson because one of my kids lives just outside of, or northeast of Lake Holcomb, and the other one, their family lives southwest of Shakopee. So really, Hudson's about halfway between the two of them. So it's worked out pretty good.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Very good. So why are you interested in serving on the St. Croix County Board?
Well, you know, a couple of things. I wish to serve the county by supervising government.
Okay.
That's probably one of the main reasons. Protecting zoning, property rights. I'm a small government, fiscally conservative candidate.
Okay.
And so I'm looking to be a good steward of citizens' tax dollars, I believe in the free enterprise system, and I believe in protecting citizens' safety, public safety. I'm a big proponent of law enforcement.
Okay. Well, we just had the sheriff in here, and we were talking about the referendum, and
Yeah.
there is a referendum on law enforcement positions and public safety positions. There's 8 of them. So what would be your position on that referendum?
Well, you know, that $1 million referendum, that should have been passed with the budget, and it wasn't. And that's one of my complaints about the current board. I just think that their priorities are mixed up.
Okay.
I mean, you look at that new building project is a $80 million, roughly, I think a little more, but around $80 million project. And it just seems to me like the priorities of the current board should have addressed this referendum in their budget. This should not be a referendum.
Well, by address it in the budget, what do you mean? Because they're indicating they have to go to the voters because they're at the statutory max for what they can levy.
Yeah, exactly. They're a bunch of big spenders. You know, in the last 9 years, I did a little research on this, and in the last 9 years, I made some notes here on that, where they spent a lot of money here. Since 2020, spending has risen substantially. The county has spent over $90 million, and this year new building project at the government center, that's going to raise taxes $40 for every $100,000 property valuation.
Okay.
So that's going to be an increase in tax. I realize St. Croix County is growing, and they needed another judge, okay, to service the county. Therefore, they had to build an addition. But $80 million is a lot of money, I think, to support a judge position. There was more than that, of course, but it was overspent. And I think that the county board right now, they're spent, like you said, they're right at the max. And so they can't budget in an extra $1 million because it doesn't fit.
Sure.
Well, that's impractical. You know, 9 years ago, it didn't even used to be max. That's my point.
Okay, well, I'm going to take the questions a little out of order if that's okay, because you're talking about the spending. So do you see areas where the county could reduce the spending to be able to fund those 8 positions, roughly $900,000?
Well, you know, if you're talking about current services, no. And I don't think it'd be practical to cut a lot of money out of the current services offered by the county.
Okay.
Just because these projects are in place, funded, moving forward. And so if you were to cut some of them, you're going to cut people's services.
Right.
Okay. My philosophy is to cut back on these projects. Don't allow some of the services.
Okay.
So
don't allow an increase in services.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if there's a chance, I mean, to cut some of the extra out of a project is tough. Like this building project right now, to cut something out of that would be almost impossible. Okay.
Right.
I mean, the money is allocated, the contractors are hired, it's moving forward.
Right.
But initially, that's where more thought should be put into these projects.
Okay. So you mentioned about the building that the county is doing at the government center. Is there any other action taken by the county board in the last year or two that you may have done differently?
There sure is. I made some notes on that too. Okay. Number one, do you remember a couple of years ago during COVID, the Committee on Health wanted to start a brand new department in the county, a county level health department. Okay? The chairman of that committee was my opponent.
Okay.
Okay? And that project alone, from what I remember, was going to hire a director for roughly $140,000 a year. And I assume there's going to be staff and everything that goes along with this new department. Okay? And this here health department was going to have enforcement power. And the enforcement power was to fine people for wearing masks that didn't have a mask. That was the purpose. Well, to me, that is a major violation of my freedom, of my liberty.
Okay.
And yet that was on the table. It went before the full board, and it almost passed. It was 10 opposed, 9 in favor. So by one vote, that department was canceled. That's way too close.
Okay.
And if I was in one of them 19 seats, it would have been
Another no vote.
another no vote.
But you wouldn't have done it differently. That's what ended up being the result. But is there any results of the county board over the last couple of years that you would have done differently?
Yeah. How about this refugee resettlement issue? That's pretty recent.
Okay.
Okay. I was at a board meeting here 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. Not a board, not the full board, but a committee, the administrative committee. And the St. Croix County Republican Party proposed a resolution to pause this refugee resettlement. Congressman Tiffany, he was on the phone and he talked to the committee, and he says, yeah, he said, this shouldn't happen the way it happened, and it should be paused. Well, the committee decided to table that resolution indefinitely. Okay, so right now, there's about maybe 5 or 6 counties. This here refugee resettlement originates in Eau Claire. And all the counties within a 100-mile radius of Eau Claire are affected. Well, that includes St. Croix County.
Mm-hmm.
And so rather than tabling that, resolution, I would have voted for it and cooperated with the other counties. There's several other counties that said, yeah, we want to pause this. We want to go along with Congressman Tiffany and pause this project, this refugee resettlement. I would have been, if I was on the administrative committee, I would have said, yeah, let's pause this.
How was that impacting St. Croix County, the refugee resettlement in Eau Claire?
The plan is this NGO that's managing all this, okay, they plan on bringing in 75 people initially into the area, 100-mile radius of Eau Claire, somewhere. We don't know where. And we don't know who the refugees are. Okay? So the plan is to start with 75, and within 2 or 3 years, it'll work up to, I think it was 3,000, 2,000 or 3,000. Okay? So that does not include chain migration.
Mm-hmm.
At one of the meetings we had in Eau Claire, there was 2 people from St. Cloud, Minnesota, and they talked about the consequences of their refugee resettlement program. It started 10 years ago, and it's a disaster for St. Cloud. The properties out there are, the values are going down, people are moving out. He made a mention that the college is at about half the student population that it had 10 years ago. Law enforcement is through the roof. They've never balanced a budget in the last 10 years because of all the extra money it costs to transportation, medical, education, a lot of cost. And now with this project here in Eau Claire, we have, well, Sacred Heart Hospital is closing down.
Right.
St. Joe's Hospital in Chippewa Falls is closing down. And there's a lack of health needs. It's going to be hard to fund this. And what I think, this is my opinion, but okay, St. Croix County is within this 100-mile radius. There's no reason why these people, especially if they're Islam people, which they're expected to be. In fact, I just saw a note from Assemblyman Karen Hurd. She was talking about that they had the original bunch come in, not 75, I think it was like 18 or 20, okay, and they're all from Congo. So I think it's just impractical for St. Croix County to support something like this. I'm all for bringing in refugees that are willing to assimilate into American culture. But based on what happened in Minneapolis over the last 2 decades, Sharia law and U.S. Constitution are incompatible. So you can't have the two mixed together. And that's why in the Minneapolis area, you have basically an area of Sharia and then U.S. Constitution. It doesn't work. And so if that happens to St. Croix County, not only will it cost a lot of money, but it's going to be a culture issue.
Okay. So what do you see as the most important issues to be addressed by the county board looking forward in the next 2 years?
All right. Okay, a couple things. I would like to see St. Croix County become a more business-friendly county. What I'd like to see is our homegrown workforce, our children, to be able to get a good job right here in St. Croix County without having to go to the Twin Cities. To do that, St. Croix County has to promote businesses. Fewer regulations, more tax-friendly, to attract new businesses into St. Croix County. And I don't see any reason why they won't. I look at Prescott.
Well, let me just stop you. Because you mentioned regulation, and we're talking about the county board. So what county regulations do we have in St. Croix County that make it unfriendly to business?
I haven't done that research, so I can't answer that.
Okay. All right, but you were about to say Prescott, so
Yeah,
you were going to compare us. Prescott's in Pierce County. So.
Yes, yes. And so they went business-friendly here about a decade ago, and they've had all kinds of input from new businesses moving into that area.
And how did they go business friendly? What made them business friendly as opposed to whatever like Hudson does or River Falls?
They just made it tax friendly, and they made a good environment, regulation-wise, to attract businesses.
But by tax friendly, I guess I wasn't familiar. Did Prescott like cut taxes for businesses in some way?
Yeah, I'm not sure what they did exactly, but it's like they give these lower taxes for a certain amount of time, okay, so that the businesses can get established.
Okay, so you would
call that, there's a name for that, and I forget what the name is.
So if you would see businesses paying less taxes, so then it would be individuals and families paying more?
No, not necessarily.
Okay, well, but if you've got so much to spend, and I know you want to keep the line on spending, but either everyone's taxed the same, or if you're going to start cutting for a certain group, then the other group's got to pick up the difference. So who would you raise the taxes on? If
I would not raise taxes. You wouldn't have to.
Okay.
You're bringing in a business, you're going to attract a product, okay? They're going to pay some taxes, which the county wouldn't have had before.
Well, the county gets its money from sales tax and property tax. So on the property tax, I mean, they could, a small amount of their budget's from property tax. Excuse me. So again, that's kind of set, the mill rate set by the individual government. So
Yes.
that's where they have the best, impact on taxes.
Well, this is private,
Okay.
okay? I'm talking like the businesses, manufacturing especially.
Okay. All right. So making St. Croix County more business friendly, what else would you do? And this, the other important issues.
There's another thing. I have a problem with the Hudson Library. And I think that's a tremendous resource. In fact, I used to be on the board of the Hudson Library. And right now, the county doesn't fund it 100%. It funds it by 75% of allowed. Well, I would promote funding the county funding the library at 100% with one qualification. The director of the library right now is anti-family friendly. And I say that because there's sexually explicit books in the children's section. There's history books that have been so revised, they're not even accurate. And so my qualification would be to replace the director with somebody that would be more, get rid of all this.
When you say get rid of all this,
The sexually explicit material, especially in the children's section. Get rid of the history books that are inaccurate.
do you have examples of like the inaccurate history books? Like
Yeah, we had a meeting there. There was a group of us had a meeting there a couple of years ago, and we found material in the children's section. I can't name you the title of the book, but in fact, River Channel was there and videotaped that meeting.
And they found one book that had,
The sexually explicit book was videotaped. The history books, I brought out a couple of history books. They were videotaped.
and when was this?
I can't remember, but I'm going to say 2 years ago maybe.
Okay.
So you should have that on record.
Yep. All right, well, we're getting close on our time. Is there anything else that you would like to add then, as far as your position on either issues or why folks should vote for you?
Well, why folks should vote for me is because I would be a conservative candidate. My philosophy is protecting citizens' rights. You know, I teach, like I said, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And in the Declaration of Independence, it talks about we have 3 unalienable rights, God-given rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what I'm going to promote.
Okay.
And I mean, I could go into each one of them values if you wish, but the bottom line is that needs to be promoted. Life, I mean, look at what's happening right now with, there's a major drug problem in St. Croix County, fentanyl and other things. Well, that's taking life. There should be, I mean, I realize this is a national issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a St. Croix County issue. This is a national issue. But that's important to me, to protect people. I would increase law enforcement. I know the referendum, that's the goal, but I would have done that a long time ago, to increase law enforcement to address this. We can't have drug dealers running around the county free will. That's not good. And so law enforcement is really the only tool we have that's going to manage that.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think that's about it.
How could people, if they, do you have a website or a
I do.
Facebook page, or what do you have?
My website is www.robertcizek.com. It's all one word, robertcizek.com, C-I-Z-E-K. And there's a Facebook link on that website that you can click on too. Otherwise, you could just go to Robert Cizek on Facebook and find it. But if they go to that website, they would find out a lot more information about me and learn about my values. And I would appreciate their vote.
Okay, very good. Robert Cizek, thanks for coming on the show. And I want to tell our viewers, thanks for watching. Get yourself informed on the issues, research the candidates, and make sure you get out and vote on April 2nd. I'm Jamie Johnson. Thanks for watching.